Hi guys, it's Mike here from KS Bushcraft Down Under. I'm going to go a bit off subject today. Now, most of you realise that I live in Australia, so I'm in the Southern Hemisphere. I live in Western Australia, and all this is to do with mainly people living on the east coast of Australia. So on the east coast of Australia, we are a huge exporter of energy. Now, at the moment, we're running out of energy for our domestic use. So, on the east coast, there was never any system put in place to hold gas, oil, for the domestic market. So refiners and compressors, so compressed natural gas, can export all and leave nothing for the local market. So it always leaves a bad taste in people's mouths when you see shiploads of compressed CNG heading off to Europe and there's not enough to keep the power stations running here. So for power generators on the east coast, they have a regulator. It's a bit like a share market where you can buy in or generate power at a certain price, and they're getting paid a spot price. So a couple of years ago, we had a huge problem in South Australia. Now they all came out and were putting the boots into renewables because the wind doesn't blow, the sun doesn't shine. In actual fact, there was 2 power stations choosing not to generate. So they're operating a bit like a cartel. They'll choose when to generate, choose not when to generate, which is a bit of a pain. Now, for decades we've had no clear policy for energy. So some of the infrastructure, the coal and all that's well past its use by date, and now they've got their hand out for more government money to keep ageing technology afloat. So renewables, they have their shortfalls, but they also have no input costs. So all the solar, and we got lots of sunshine here, basically it's free. So now listen, AEMO, AEMO, they forced their members to keep producing even though it wasn't cost effective because of the high gas prices, which is the international price. So now they're looking for $1 billion plus of compensation, considering that there's probably 20 million people covered by that grid. That's $50 for every man, woman or child. So you and I will be paying for all this. Now the actual reserves are down to 6 petajoules. I'm not sure what a petajoule is, but it doesn't sound good, and by the end of August we could be out on the east coast. So I think this will be exactly what will be playing out in Europe and North America, mainly Europe, this coming winter for you guys. So I think you're going to be in for some troubles. Now, during the outbreak of the pandemic, I saw behaviour here, even though we're isolated in Western Australia. People running out and buying carfuls of bottled water, canned food, toilet paper, and we're punching on in the aisles for toilet paper. And if you understand the systems that are around you, you can make smart decisions. Okay? So for me, and these are all, I'm going to use what I know. Water out of the tap costs $1.85 Australian for a kilolitre or 1,000 litres. So why would I run out and buy stacks of bottled water as long as I can rely or store tap water? So to fill a bathtub, 100 litres, 18 cents. So why would I buy bottled water at $1.50 a bottle? Okay, unless you have a reason where you live. So electricity that I buy in is 30 cents a kilowatt hour, and they charge me $1 a day for the thrill of being connected to the grid. Now natural gas, I looked it up this morning, is 3.6 megajoules, which is to you or I a kilowatt hour, is 16 cents. Now I looked it up in Europe and they're saying 18 euros, so slightly cheaper. Now where I am in Western Australia, we had a clever premier some years back called Alan Carpenter, who required gas exporters or refiners to hold 15% for the domestic market. So we're protected in a secure supply, but I believe the mechanism for the wholesale cost is linked to the international price. So we're not exempted from the market supply costs. Now at the moment we're getting a relief on our fuel. We're getting about 25 cents off a litre. Otherwise a litre of diesel at the moment would be about $2.60, nearly $2.70 a litre. That's in Perth. Outside of that it'd be $3 a litre. So that's a significant energy cost. Now solar, I'm an exporter of solar energy for my house. So I get paid at the moment 8 cents a kilowatt hour. When I buy it in I pay 30, and that's falling due to there's that much of it. They're telling us it's worthless during the day to 2.5 cents. So what I think we should all do, we should all be prepared for some lumps ahead. I think, especially in Europe, you'll be having some blackouts. I think your gas supplies will be restricted. Now some people will do the right thing, some people won't do the right thing, and some people will go really naughty. And having restricted energy amounts is going to test all of our systems that we've had for donkey's years really hard. So what I'm saying by that, say you're living in a building and it's heated by gas. So it's never gone through a winter where it's been really cold, where possibly the pipes will freeze. And there'll be all sorts of knock-on effects that we don't understand or haven't tested for. So being a little bit self-reliant is going to turn what could be a really irky situation into a bit of a pain. Yeah? And I'll take having a bit of a pain over a really bad situation any day of the week. So I'm going to take you through my place and I look at the systems that are in place, what I've done to mitigate them. Now in a hard situation when we've had no power for days on end, or it's out for a few hours. So I have no dog in this fight, guys. I'm not getting you to buy anything you don't want to buy, but I want you to all sit down, have a look at your situation, and be a little bit prepared for what I think is going to be a bit of a bumpy ride. Anyway, guys, that's what's coming up. Okay guys, so this is the roof of my house. So the solar PV that you're looking at the moment, that's 2000 watts. Now over there, that's a solar hot water system, so that stores 300 litres of hot water heated by the sun. It's also boosted by the electric if it needs it. In the distance there, now that's what we call a whirlybird, Western Australia. Our ambient temperatures here can hit 50 degrees Celsius, so letting the hot air out of the roof, it's really important. Okay, there's another solar PV panel there. That's 1500 watts. That was the first system I installed. Below that is a 12 volt DC panel which I use for keeping my 12 volt backup battery charged up. And just in the distance over the cap of the roof there is a third PV panel, also 1.5 kilowatts. Sorry, 2 kilowatts, that one. And that's facing northwest. So the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So these panels are basically northeast or northwest orientation to get the best power and also to give me the longest coverage. So during the summertime, we have about 14 hours sunshine here a day, and this house is self-sufficient daytime. Okay guys, it's 20 to 9 in the morning. Winter solstice was a week ago, so midwinter. This inverter here is attached to the array which is pointing to the northwest, so it's still on the shaded side, so 217 watts. This one here is on the northeast. It's also the smallest system. This one's only 1500 watts, so currently it's doing 700 and the back one's doing about 900. So at this time of morning it's not bad performance. So if we look at my meter box, that arrow there pointing outwards to the road, telling me I'm exporting power to the grid. I'll scroll through the menu. Position 7. So in 12 years I've imported 5,196 watts. Hold it down. And I've exported 54,714. So I'm exporting 10 times the energy that I'm importing, and this doesn't reflect the energy I'm actually self-consuming as well. So a pretty solid performance from the solar panels. One of the things I learned a few years ago when I had no power for 3 days was I was suddenly in the digital dark ages. So back in the day, if the power went out, the old-fashioned home phone used to work. These days, they won't work. Okay. Now, this unit here, if you're a priority customer, you can get a battery that will provide power for 4 hours. So the oldies, old people with health conditions can get that for free of charge. Now, I looked at it, so it runs on 12 volt. So it's got an AC to DC wall charger. It's rated at 12 volts at 2 amps. So I've looked at the plug, and I can run it directly from a 12 volt battery. Now, my cordless phone that goes with it, it has rechargeable batteries built in, but they can be replaced with regular AA batteries. So even if that charge is not working, I can make a phone call. So that's easy done. So I'll make up a lead directly for the 12 volt battery. What I currently do is I have a very small inverter, and I use that to provide AC power to the Wi-Fi. So I keep a couple of these battery banks charged up on hand at home to power other lightweight electronics, and I've got a car adapter for my MacBook computer. So that keeps all my electronics running. So this is all relying on the two 12 volt batteries I have. I have one in my pickup truck, and I have another one, connected to my solar panel on the roof. So basically I've got 180 amp hours of batteries, and I've got enough solar panels that I can MacGyver up that I can keep a 12 volt fridge freezer going and my electronic stuff. So that's a good backup to have regardless of what happens to the grid. Okay guys, this is under the bonnet of my pickup. So here I have an 80 amp de-cycle battery, and there you see the charge controller. So the solar's coming in off the roof of the house. So that's about an 80 watt panel. I can increase that to nearly 300 watts if I get all my blankets out. With that, I can keep my car fridge running and provide all the other low voltage needs to my house. So that's good, and it's totally silent. Now what I learned when the power was out a couple of years back was running a generator was a really bad idea, because people that didn't know started turning up wanting to plug things in. So the noise of a generator, even though Honda ones are very quiet, really attracted unwanted attention, as did a lack of light discipline. So it's not a clever idea to show the street that all your lights are blazing away, because that also attracts unwanted attention. So guys, this is my kitchen hob. So if you can see, it's a 4-burner electric hob. Now I previously had gas, but I ditched the gas when they started putting up the prices too much, and I put all the solar PV panels up on the roof, want to use my own power rather than pay for the supply charge of the gas and the gas, because it was much cheaper. So obviously this makes me vulnerable in a power outage. So all my appliances are electric, including my wall oven. So the solution is pretty straightforward. In the cupboard near the kitchen, I keep a small butane stove and about 10 of these gas cans. So I've got a couple of weeks worth of gas on hand every day, and I keep a small area light. Now this is one of the hardcore lights. Now this will stick to my ceiling near my exhaust fan, so right above. So if I get up in the morning, I've got an area light up there, have a cup of tea and all that stuff. First problem of the day sorted. Okay guys, down here is a bore, so that's running down to our groundwater. That's a 3-phase pump. These large pipes you see coming out here
feed the garden, and it also tops up a rainwater tank I have if it needs to. So that's a 3-phase pump, and up there on the wall is a 3-phase plug. So it's a pretty simple system. There's no timers involved, but super handy to have. Okay guys, this is my backyard. See, in my backyard here I've got a variety of plants and stuff. In the back corner, it's midwinter at the moment, there's 2 grapevines of different varieties. I've got some potted chili still hanging over from last year. I grew this one from seed, so it was the last to develop. In that menagerie there is a 1500 litre fish pond, so a good emergency water supply. Hopefully we can get down to eating the fish. Now feeding the pond is a 1000 litre water tank. I got this one at a yard sale and just rolled it up the street to my house, and that's attached to the steel roof of my back patio by that individual gutter there. So I can also fill it off the bore if I have to. So mainly it's used during the year, so I don't have to put treated water into the pond. I just use rainwater to top it up with. So in my backyard I've got a weeping mulberry tree. This is what they call a dwarf, because the standard one's huge. This one here is an Australian native desert lime. It's really a bit on the tart side. Next to that I've got apricots. Growing through it is a dragon fruit tree, which is really quite nice. I've got a dwarf, a semi-dwarf mandarin I've just started this year. So on the back here I've got a pomegranate tree, lemon tree, because every yard should have a lemon tree. There's my big compost heap, and past that my rough and ready chook run. So it's good to have backyard chickens when things get a bit unstable. On the ground there's my big sea kayak. So I've got a sheltered area out the back, which is where you normally see me doing my stove tests and stuff. And there's my retro style bike. It's always good to have something as a backup transportation. Got the world's biggest barbecue, a big flat plate one, called a Heatley made here in Australia. And underneath there I've got some coolers and stuff. And a semi-portable, what you guys in America call a swamp cooler. Big air conditioner, so I can actually cool this exterior patio. Some of my carpentry work there. And a portable kitchen, which is like you see on my trips. So this is a great area if you need to burn fossil fuels or stuff like that. And a great backup again. So in my front yard I have a vegetable garden. It's a reasonable size. Now you're not seeing it at its best as it's midwinter, but you can see the chilies, and they're quite hot, those ones. And the Thai ones are very hot, left over from the summer. Strawberries are just starting on. Like green veg now at the moment, our lettuce here in Western Australia is about $12. So worthwhile growing. More chilies. Some really hot chilies. And some more green veg. So it's great to have a vegetable garden and a few fruit trees to your yard. The rest of my yard is basically succulents due to our climate here. Now I've got garden lighting, and it provides an additional light source outside. Here come the seniors. Yes, no. Maybe we'll have some. Maybe we won't. Maybe I'll send the wife back to get some. There we go. Ooh, look at this. Ooh, it's all free. Everything's free here. No, I picked it about an hour before you turned up. No. That won't go there. So at the front of my house I've got motion sensitive lights. I've also got these window roller shutters. They provide obviously some security, keeps the heat out, cool in, and helps keep the light in as well, should that be an issue.
So guys, to wrap things up, I would get ready, especially in Europe, for a tough winter, guys. And I hope I've given you some ideas of how I've sort of made my house energy robust, I would describe it as. It's not totally self-sufficient, but it's 90% self-sufficient, and I have systems in place that I can mitigate the other issues. And make sure you've got a battery operated radio, some reliable lighting, plenty of batteries and a few candles, and be prepared for a bumpy ride, guys. Anyway guys, that's all for today. We'll catch you next time.